Okay, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to our The Eternal Cylinder live stream. We are here today with Carlos, again, game director, and I know you have a lot of questions, and hopefully are excited to see a little more of the gameplay. The Xbox demo wrapped up on the 21st, which was Monday, so hopefully you're feeling a little deprived and we can scratch that itch for you. So, Carlos, thanks for joining us. What's up with you? What's new at ACE Team right now?
Everything is good here. Winter started, so it's cold here and rainy. So, uh,
See,
getting
guys, they're in winter. That's how it works. We're all in summer in
yeah,
Jenesee.
yeah. Like the North Hemisphere kind of never knows the South Hemisphere in another station. So we always see everyone celebrating summer while we go into the winter. So, but at least when you guys go into the winter, we kind of get the reverse of that
Yes,
situation.
you get to go, nah, nah, nah. It's really
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have a contest, which incidentally features summer. So, one of the questions for the community, especially in Discord, is how would a Trebham family relax? Obviously, this would take place before the cylinder. There's no relaxing when you're running for your life. So the question was to draw a picture in whatever medium suits you. And we have some lovely winners today from our Discord community. So if you would throw them up there, the first one we have is Shattered Reality saying happy summer with their frolicking trebum in the water. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm jealous of those two trebums.
They
I
look
can't
so
go into a
happy.
pool, yeah, and then I'd freeze. Yeah, it's very nice. I'd do that to
Oh,
my brothers,
yes.
throw water in their face.
Oh, see, now if you had a trunk like this, it
Yeah.
would be epic. Cool. Okay, the second one, I'm gonna call him POP guy. It's either POP guy or poop guy, but we're just gonna go with the first one. They have a picture they've drawn of a whole Tripham family. Looks like they've got some toys there, and they're looking out the window, playing with some flying things. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very cozy. Nice house. Very,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
cute.
grandpa's there. I can imagine the children would cause a little bit of mischief with certain mutations, so that that could be fun.
That's very true. There's a whole other like issue with children you got to watch out for when you're Trebums. Also, this elder, like you would think you'd have to build a special house because the elder would be giant and
Hmm.
require like their own furniture size and everything, while the rest of the Trebum are little.
Yep.
All right, and our third winner is Labus with their slightly sarcastic but humorous take on vacation for Trebum. So they're relaxing on top of this hill, and here we go. Danger is imminent.
Yeah, very nice. I don't know if I would want to have vacations with a moth ring. That's what we call this creature that flies around internally in the office. But I wouldn't want
Yes,
to get sucked.
Dugorsh.
Yeah, yeah. We call it the like the placeholder name was always moth ring. So um, I wouldn't be want to get sucked into a vortex and in the middle of my vacations.
Yeah, no, that makes sunbathing a whole other problem, I think. Okay, so congratulations to our wonderful winners. We will have another contest in 2 weeks when we have a live stream. So join us on Discord and check out the Fan Creations channel where we have an honorable mention from SMJ James as well to be seen. And now let's jump to your questions. So while we do questions, Carlos is going to play a little bit of the desert area. I know you haven't seen that. So we're kind of going to add these in there while he's talking about some stuff. So
Yeah.
cheats abound, guys. Cheats abound. You don't do this. We'll do it.
I'm gonna skip over here to the game and I'm gonna load into the desert. I actually. Wait, give me 1 second. Continue.
I see Orange Maracata asking where can you download the demo. The Xbox demo just closed on Monday. We had a PC demo in April. So right now, the next place on our chart is the game coming out, releasing later this year. So you can download then. If anything comes up and we have options for PlayStation, etc., we will be sure to let you know.
Yeah, give me a second because I ran into the wrong level. 1 second.
No worries.
Just,
We can multitask. Answer questions while you're text supporting.
yeah, I'm skipping some content. I do not want to spoil. The manual save I had prepared for this didn't show up, so just give me a second while I sort of get through this relatively quick.
Oh boo, Orange Mercado. Sorry. Looks like they're saying that the free beta Xbox image came up, so they're confused. No, unfortunately, no. But that will be relevant later in our Discord questions. So, hang on.
I think I'm almost there. I'm cheating all my way through the section with slow motion. Okie dokie. And I should be able to change here. Okay. I'm all set. Let's go back. Okay, there we are. So this is relatively very early in the desert chapter of the game. I'm still with my little guys with the fur mutation because the desert chapter happens after the cold biome, mainly cold biome desert portion of the game. So snowy, the tundra. And at first you arrive with the Trebom fully dressed for the wrong season. So
Gonna tell him, get your fashion in order.
yeah. So here I'm going to show something that's kind of interesting about the biome. I'm going to run away from this creature here, which is the following thing. Let me see. The title card should appear soon. Exactly. So in the desert, one of the features that we have in the game is that with high temperatures, the Trebom really can't stay in the sun. So we have a whole system where during the time of the day when the sun rises to a certain point, the temperature rises too much, and you have to sort of look for shadow. Portions of shadow to block the sun, because if not, the Trebons start losing health. A little bit similar to how they would lose health in the cold. And obviously, there is a mutation which basically protects you from that situation. Right now, the sun hasn't risen enough for the temperature to rise. That's one of the many things that the game we have. We have a lot of controls for different aspects of the game, and for instance, the position of the sun is relevant to the temperature in the level. So since I skipped kind of quickly to this area, the sun isn't still at the position where temperature will rise, but that will happen relatively soon. You start seeing this little icon appear over the Trebon which says that you have the heat because of the sun. The desert has its own plants, which it's its own biome. You get this like a lot of dunes, and it has its unique creatures, which I'm not going to spoil all of them right now. But basically, you have little creatures which you can eat, which give you different mutations. Like for instance, in this case, as you can see, it's starting to get warm. For instance, these little crab-like creatures with 4 legs, boom, they give you the ability to have multiple legs and move faster. So now that the sun is up there, it's starting to get hot, and if I really want to protect myself from the heat, I can hide here in the shadows. One thing that we don't do in the game, many survival games start diminishing your health bar with environmental hazards to the point where they kill you. That's not something that we wanted to do in the Eternal Cylinder. So even though with heat or cold, you do end up losing health. We eventually stop the, like depleting the health bar when you're near like at very low health, because we don't really want to kill the player. The game, we want to encourage exploration. We don't want players to feel like moving from one place to another is so dangerous that you would actually die from just being on the sun. So that's one thing to take into account.
They do pant though. I mean, I feel very sad if I run around without giving them the proper mutation because they just like complain. They're like, it's very sad. They feel very dehydrated.
Yeah. Well, that is part of the immersion of the game. We do want to make the little treble feel at home or not, depending on what they're wearing. And this, for instance, this one ingredient that is it, it is in the kind of hidden in some parts of the beta. Yes, it was present in parts of the beta, but what it gives you is like these thorns that is a protective layer. So, for instance, the chomper, if I would find one, if it tries to eat me now, it won't be able to, because when it tries to eat me, it will just spit me out. These guys are really cool. They just float around, kind of ignoring you, and they throw down these spores, these purple spores. And you gotta be kind of careful when you're running under them, because if I do get too close to one of those, they kind of explode and have this like radius damage. So the desert, the other particular aspect about the desert is that there's not that many water sources, so you have to depend more on finding ingredients. For instance, we have these little like papaya shaped plants which can provide you water. So the exploration becomes quite different depending on the biome and what you're doing. So let's see if I can get to the chomper. There it is.
SMJ James is asking, what's enchiodermatoid about the big orange organisms other than vaguely looking like a slate pencil urchin? I'm not familiar with this word. You've stumped me, SMJ James. Which one are you asking about? Those guys that are sticking up? Like those right there to the right?
Which
Food or something that grows them that's symbolic with a giant. Oh, okay. You're referencing a descriptor of one of it that says the word. Enchinodermoid organisms. I don't know. Do you know, Carlos, what that means?
No, I have no idea.
I have to look that up.
Yeah. The most of the scientific words that were used for the creation of the compendium and all the ingredients and the creatures, that was thoroughly studied by Jonas when he did the all the descriptions for the creatures and the plants, and he has a much better knowledge of the details for those things.
Okay, Jima says it's the group that starfish belong to. It's like a classification.
Ah,
So maybe that's why, because it's based like on some starfish scenario.
okay, cool. I
Well,
didn't
there you
know.
go. Sorry. That's definitely Joe's question. Okay, so let's jump into some of the Discord questions while you're rolling around showing
Mm-hmm.
people, and you can just jump in. Carlos, if you see something cool, just interrupt me.
Sure.
Um, so SMJ James says, there's one thing I forgot to ask Jonas. Do Trebums, at least the culture that the artisan priests are from, have a pantheon of gods or goddesses? Do they worship anything?
They definitely have a somewhat religious type of culture, and they have these kind of priests, not priests exactly, but they do have a type of worship that will come into play in the story, which is related to their ability to sing. I did mention this earlier. In the game, the capacity of the trebum to sing and have their own songs is something that plays out in the story of the game, and I can't spoil it now, but will come to be of significance in their adventure as they get to explore the further chapters of the game, particularly chapters 3 and 4.
Very cool. Okay, Tintin asks, what part of the game are you and the team the most proud of?
Uh,
No, not there. It's gonna be you.
no, some of them don't. Some of them give me
No.
mutations.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
look, see, I was just ran for my life so quickly. I never noticed if some of them didn't try to grab me.
Yeah, this is the rattlesnake sort of trunk, which it shakes by itself. It's a little bit like the trumpet trunk, but it auto detects enemies nearby and it makes a sound, and sometimes it, the predators get scared and run away. So not always these creatures have these heads that come out and sort of bite you.
There you go, safety from Mangstocks. You saw it here.
So you had a question, or I don't know if I.
Yes, the most proud.
The most proud, yes. I think that what we're really proud of in the game is having come up with a game that marries so well a very ambitious design that of a game that really doesn't play like anything out there in terms of the with the technology that was required to have the vision of the game a possibility, because the whole thing about having this like really open world games have been done countless times, and there's a lot of technology that has been created for making open world games, and you have islands, deserts, or whatever, but they're very much uh, sort of like free roaming, free exploration games. And we had to come up with a very different design because our game is usually about moving forward and having a 100% destructible environments. So that meant that the design of the game and the technology had to be completely different to anything that was sort of standard in terms of open world games. So that came as something that we're very. I think that's something that makes us really proud. Oh, here I have something also, which is kind of cool. These crystals, I can break them and eat them. And this also is a mutation, which is interesting because what it does is that it gives me camouflage. So now I'm kind of sharing the colors of the terrain. So the trebom is not so easily seen by creatures. So you can walk by some of the predators and not be noticed. So that's kind of cool also. So I'm going to attempt to run here.
Here's another one. Is there something you wish you knew right from the start of developing the Eternal Cylinder, like game dev wise or something else that you wish you knew before starting?
I think there's so many things that we changed in the process of the project, of the development of the project, that, yeah, definitely I would say that parts of the design didn't work out that well. Oh, I'm gonna get killed. No, I'm gonna make it. And we have a poor little guard is getting crushed. Yeah, I would say definitely the having had a better understanding of how much content of the game we wanted to do make procedural versus handcrafted like experiences, because the game at the beginning we were trying to make everything way more procedural, and in the end, after I would say years of work, we started noticing that some stuff didn't work all that well if we didn't have more control in the game. And that really would have helped us sort of do the process of creation in a way that would have been faster reaching the desired goals that we wanted for the game. Because at the beginning, we had a lot of ideas that we were trying to marry together from the game's design, but they didn't quite fit together. And a lot of it came from having so many different systems of the game being out of our control. We really didn't have that much control over a lot of aspects of the game. Like, for instance, a big part of the game was that the progression was much less defined by the designers and much more defined by rules, and that meant the progression of the game was very difficult to anticipate what would be going on in terms of what tiles were being generated in the game, how the players would get to explore the game. So yeah, that's definitely probably the number one thing we would have wanted to know better from the start.
Nintendo Nate, I know you're asking about things that you're seeing Carlos do. We're avoiding certain areas for reasons. We're trying
Yeah,
not to
I'm
spoil
not gonna
political
go
stuff.
into the pyramid, so sorry.
Yeah, you're like, what's that bright light? I want to go in the pyramid. No, you'll
No.
get there when you get the full game. We're just showing you some basic stuff right now. Okay, another question. Do you guys have any inside jokes that came up while developing this game?
Uh, many and not. I don't know if some of them are suitable for a live stream.
Yeah, ask us that later after it launches.
Yeah, but no, yeah, definitely with jokes about cylinders and stuff. You can imagine. Yeah.
Why are the Trebum obsessed with squares and cubes? You see them everywhere in shrine and temples, even in the sky.
Um, when we started designing the the, the aspects that would define like the architecture for which the Trabum had in their kind of society, we understood that we wanted to have like these a lot of use of like shapes. Like the game has a lot of like use of surreal images, and for that we used a lot of like basic elements like we have triangles, squares, the cylinder itself, spheres, and that I think that's the main theme of the design of the game, and we wanted to put that also on into the architecture for the Trebum. So basic shapes you will see: squares, circles, spheres, pyramids, the cylinder itself, a lot in the game. I think it's a constant theme present in the artistic design of the game. So yeah.
How popular are you predicting the Eternal Cylinder will be? Guys, we're never going to anger the launch gods. We do not anger the launch gods by answering questions like this. All I can say from a publisher perspective is we're pretty pleased with people that are playing the beta and your support, and we're really looking forward to hopefully everyone will pick it up and have a great time. Carlos, if you have any thoughts, let them know. Do not anger the launch gods.
I mean, as a developer, you're always hoping for. There's some meteors fell here. You're always hoping for the best you can possibly get. Whoop, here I got myself. But I won't anger the launch gods anymore. Other than that, say that we hope it's the best.
Yes, everyone's worked really hard, and you guys seemed like you appreciate it a lot. And I love the community enthusiasm. So keep it up. Very helpful, very encouraging to the team to see all of your thoughts. So love the Discord. Keep it up. Okay, here's one. SMJ James. So is that ringed planet, in quotes, we see in the sky from time to time actually canonically a big ringed moon, or is it a planet? They've been very excited to know more about this Saturn like object in the sky.
It actually resembles somewhat a sun from a certain point of view. I mean, it can't be a sun because it's not. It's moving around. But if you'll notice it like really, it's more like a moon in a sense that it reflects a very high quantity of light. It almost You can see it. You can almost see like almost like a fireball. So this was one of the first things I worked on, the prototype that I did, like I'm talking about 2015, and I wanted to have like this giant moon with rings, but that it was like a sun, so that the main light source you would have was something that was really different than what you would see in other maybe space themed games, where you do get sometimes maybe a sun, or you do get plants with rings and stuff like that. But in this case, it's more like I wanted it to feel like a sun with actual rings and look like Saturn mixed with the sun. I'm actually surprised you're asking more questions about the Saturn planet, because the one that has had a lot of people scratch their heads is the cube shaped thing that flies around in the night, which obviously has a very odd shape for a planet type structure.
There you go. Chat is asking, guys, this is an internal build, so you're gonna see debugger pop up every once in a while. It's got cheats enabled and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not obviously something you're gonna see, but they're like, why is there text? Why is there text appearing on the screen?
Yeah, I can definitely cheat. So
there you go. See. Okay, what was your reaction to the glitches or bugs the community found during the PC and mostly PC beta, but Xbox demo too?
We have to fix this.
Jira.
Yeah, Jira. Yeah, a lot of putting things into Jira. For those who don't know, the game at this point is finished. I mean, we're not working on any new content. The artists have long gone, sort of moved on. So we're working on mostly minor bugs and issues that have to do with, I don't know, it can be from small things like particle systems to animations. For instance, today I was working on, if you'll notice, the Great Gar, when it got crushed, it goes over the cylinder instead of getting crushed under. And when you see it get crushed in this chapter. So I was working on the animation so it has less clipping with the cylinder, stuff like that. So there's minor tweaks here and there that we're working on for the game. And every time we see a bug, some of them were surprising because it's things that, even though I've played the game and beaten it 14 times, you never get to experience a game this size. Like there's things that you wouldn't have thought about that people would do. So yeah, it's been interesting.
They're asking for the funniest bug or glitch. I thought the one where you could ride the cylinder was pretty funny. What do you have one that's your favorite?
I think there was one where someone jumped onto the foot of the mathematician and went all the way behind the cylinder by riding it. That was like wild. I saw that. I said, no, that's not supposed to happen.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
I already have my fancy gold master picture, my image ready, Carlos. So the second we hit gold master, I'm gonna share with everyone. We'll have a giant Discord party. So
yeah,
wait, soon, guys, soon. Okay, so here's an interesting one. Pivoting hard to the left here. What is the average turbine lifespan pre-cylinder? And then we get into the planet question. The planet may have a different solar year length, so maybe we could just have it in Earth solar year equivalent.
Wow, that's a tough one. I think Jonas would be better at answering this one. I mean, I think in terms of human years, I would say that if you look at the elders, how big they are, how old they look, I would say that they're probably older than humans. They live longer. In terms of the actual amount of years in human years, I don't know if I can answer that right now, but yeah, but I would say they're quite older. The elders, definitely.
Xenoraptor 10 has an interesting point. You can name all of your trebums that you find, but do you know if you'll be able to name your starting trebum later on, or are you just you, player anonymous?
Um, I did think about that at some point in the game, that you sort of people get to name all of them except the first one. And it's one of those situations where it's kind of like, yeah, I would want maybe the very first Trebum to people to be able, but at the very beginning of the game, people are really getting into a pretty unusual game. Like, if you've never played this game, it's very likely that you have a lot of learning ahead of you at the very beginning of the game, and that's something that if we add on additional systems like naming your trebom, we would be taking away more from what you really need to be concentrated with, what you really need to be looking at. So the way there's so many features that happen at the very beginning of the game that I think it's important for people to be kind of concentrated on those things. So yeah, unfortunately, no, we won't be able to name the first trebom, but I think being able to name all the other ones is okay.
It's always my favorite when people are streaming it on Twitch and then they name the trebums that they find based on their chat. So everyone's very invested. If Bob, gets run over, it's a giant tragedy. It's just always fun.
You can do this. I'm gonna be a bit evil here. Oops.
Are you gonna hurt the glick ball?
I actually killed it. I threw it against some spikes, so it's it's dead. But he will revenge me by giving me
I see a tasty treat.
a tasty treat, but he gives me a negative mutation. I am now the cylinder. I have no legs.
See, properly punished.
Ah, no legs. Ouch.
Okay, here's a chat question. The cylinder is aware and can think?
The cylinder is sentient, yes. It's not a piece of metal. It is the master of the servants of the cylinder. It is a very mysterious, I can't say creature because it's not a creature. But it 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 has its own mind, as to speak. Yeah.
There you go. That'll give you something to talk about in Discord for a little while. Labus says, Psst, Ace Team Boys, can you give us a Trebum language English dictionary? I mean, that's a big ask, Carlos. I think that chat should do it. I think they should translate this as a community challenge. But do you have any plans for a Trebum English dictionary?
Wow, that would be Jonas's responsibility. So he'll go Coco. He'll get pretty stressed with that one. I moved on to the first chapter so I could show. Since we're talking about the cylinder, I thought it was interesting to maybe. I know this is something that many saw in the beta, but I think it's still one of the most cool events in the game. It's my favorite. The what we call the slow cylinder event, which is where it throws the lightning. I think it's really really cool. Definitely one of the technical aspects of the game that we're most happy about.
It's beautiful screenshot time. That's my favorite screenshots of this. Okay, Bunny No Hogel asks, were there any mutations you wanted to give the Trebum but weren't able to?
Ooh, absolutely. I mean, that was definitely one of the things that we wanted to go much further, and that's one of the things where you just have to say we cannot keep on having mutations. Um, not, I would say actually rather than only not being able to do mutations, is to give them more use. I don't have enough. Sorry, I'm gonna have to leave him. I don't have enough crystals to save him. Bye bye. It was nice.
I love that bounce, by the way. Like if you throw something at their little enclosure before you burst that bubble, it bounces. It's very satisfying.
Yeah. So yeah, the mutations were we if it were up to me, I would have had 100, 500 mutations. But that's one of those sort of things where if the game were only about that, and I mean, the one thing that the team was doing was a game about little creatures that mutate, we would have probably been able to do more. But the game has all the different creatures. It has the entire destructible environments. There's so many puzzles that we have in the game. The larger creatures, sort of bosses that we haven't shown. There's so much content, and there was a point where we were realizing that we were making mutations that didn't have sound, that they had placeholder functionality, that they weren't properly balanced, and if we kept on making more of them, what would happen is that we would have many not interesting mutations, and we'd rather work more on the ones that existed and make them a little bit more interactive. And again, with regards to that, I think if I had to go back and do something, I would work maybe on making the mutations have secondary or more uses on things, because when you create a mutation, you really want it to see interact with as many things that you can in the game. And yeah, if we go and do additional content for the game, that's definitely one of the areas I think that we'll work on and do additional stuff.
There you go, Sable and Xenoraptor. Things to think about for the future post-launch. Gotta have somewhere to go. Okay, ask your further questions. We're getting towards, halfway through here, so you can watch Carlos play and ask. I think we're out now. We're tapped with questions. Ooh, look at that destruction.
Also like very much with this event how you can see all the creatures kind of slowly walking their way, and you get this like a this kind of herd behavior, which is totally not scripted. It's basically the animals in the game are afraid of the Eternal Cylinder, and they're constantly trying to keep their distance when it moves. So obviously, when the cylinder is moving fast, they basically can't outrun it. So they basically get crushed. But in this event in particular, you sometimes get these situations where you would get like combinations of several creatures that usually they're not that nearby to each other. So here I had two chompers, one of these floating ones. Omnogroms and what was the name?
Oh,
Yeah, so
yeah, Oinky Farts. I wasn't sure they would cross the barrier, so they will cross into the next zone beyond the tower.
yes, they will. They do get by. So I have a lot of creatures here roaming around this area because of that. Because the cylinder moving slowly with the lightning pushed a lot of creatures into this area, and that's really cool. That's one of those sort of things that you didn't really make the game thinking to yourself, okay, this is what I want the creatures to do. It sort of came as a natural behavior, but it feels so real. I mean, the creatures would kind of move away from the cylinder. It makes sense. So that's one of the sort of surprises you get in game development, where maybe from the very beginning, if you're making, for instance, the design document of the game, and you say to yourself, okay, when the cylinder is moving, I want there's to be some kind of this stampede. Well, not stampede, but this herd of creatures moving away from the cylinder, because and you would put that task in a programmer's hands. But the fact that we programmed the creatures to be afraid of the cylinder and move on their own meant that this sort of naturally happened on its own. And when you start seeing the features all come together, that's when the game starts shining. So this is a game that was about many different features, and seeing them start like working together was what was really exciting during the development process.
What's their priority? If the cylinder's coming, will they stop to attack you, or is their priority to escape first and attack second?
All the creatures have priorities. For instance, this guy over there, if he does see me, he will charge at me, as he actually just did. So the creatures do fear the cylinder more than they want to, for instance, eat other creatures. The creatures do tend to prefer trying to eat the trebum than eating some other creatures, because it was kind of boring if we had the players like run around the creatures and the creatures would ignore you. So, for instance, the Tungle Grop, if he does start chasing, for instance, the Tungle Groplets, and he sees you running around with your little herd of creatures, he will change focus and start attacking you, which is kind of scary. But
Interesting.
he did go. You can see him there. He's going inside this kind of forest area, and he is hunting uh, some of the younglings. It's a nasty creature. He eats the young, so one of the uglier creatures in the game. So there he's. You can see him here. He's attacking one of them, and he's like he throws this like poison attack. It's like poison barf, which is pretty nasty. So there he's chasing, but if I do start getting close, he will take notice of me, and that means it's time to run.
What's the deal with the giant conch shell? Like there's nothing in it and I always wait to see if something will come out. Is there a story behind it or is it just like a, landscape feature?
Um, when designing the world, many of the things that one of the things I wanted the terrain of the game to feel like as if there once had been like the water level would have been much higher. So basically, you would see some things that look more like underwater shells and stuff, things that belong to creatures that were once there and they're no longer there. So in this case, yeah, I think I'm just going to spoil it. Just you'll never see a creature come out of it. Maybe we'll do one for an update. Um,
April Fools. Ah!
oh, here we can see a nice debug uh, thingy here. This red line is obviously not from the actual game, but this is basically the line that tells us the line of sight from the Troala, and whether or not he's seeing me or not is, I think it changes to green. No, it does not change to green. So there, it does change to green. So yeah, there he sees me. He doesn't see me. So these are the typical debug tools that the programmers will make in the game to sort of allow us to easily see things such as line of sights and stuff that we need to work with in the game. So yeah.
S- Sabelin asks, what was the inspiration for the color palette for the game? Pops of bright, almost neon colors in nature is such a cool choice.
Um, when I was working on the terrain of the very first prototype I worked on, I knew that if I was going to do a game with a lot of like the fields of the game and the grass and everything was going to be greens. It was going to feel very much Earth-like, the environment. And if I really wanted to go alien, like for an alien feeling, I needed to go for warmer colors for things that you usually don't see. So the grass, if you look at it, well, it really depends on the day-night cycle, but it's very purple, very blue. So that was, I think, a very conscious choice from the beginning to use a lot of colors that are not usually seen in nature for things that like plants having blue leaves, plants having purple leaves. Those do exist in nature and in planet Earth, but not like for instance grass or in you usually have plants have usually sometimes they may have small details to attract insects, and so you have flowers that are purple, but you have little spots of these colors present in, in our nature, and I wanted these colors to be more the present color in the whole palette, and I think it goes very well with the colors of the sky, which are also very purple and neon colors. I think we wanted to go for something that, even though the game uses a relatively um, traditional shading model for, I'm getting a little bit technical here when I'm talking about shading models, but it uses like photorealistic games use the same shading models that we're using in the Eternal Cylinder, where you have the textures of the creatures are done with their color, their roughness, materials, normal maps, and all that. And in that sense, we're not doing anything really that special rendering wise. We're not doing non-photorealistic rendering from a rendering point of view. We're actually using very traditional methods. What actually makes the game look very different is two things primarily. The design and colors that we choose for the objects that we use, and the lighting. I would say the lighting is definitely one of the things that does give the game a little bit of a surreal look. Um, it's not very evident compared to other games, but you can see, for instance, we have a very high level of bounce light in the game. So, for instance, if I choose one of these other trebombs, now I'm trying to choose Groove. So if you look at the trebomb from below it, you'll notice that it has like this really kind of purple bounce light coming from the floor. And if I did move on to the snowy tundra, you would see like this white bounce light coming from beneath. This was a custom thing that we did for the light our lighting system using Unreal Engine 4, and we sort of exaggerate some aspects of the lighting so that we have a lot more. We have more kind of color bleeding from the lights in the game, and that gives it a very distinct look. This lighting all affects everything from, as you can see, the rocks are a little bit purple from beneath. So yeah, the choices of colors, the choices of how we illuminate the scenes, it's very evident here in the tree. You can see how this like subtle purple bounce light is sort of painting our objects in the game. So yeah, things like that.
Is that swinging shadow the Chihuahua?
Yeah, it
Okay,
is
how
the
he's flying in
Trova.
the air with that. That's cool.
Yeah, some very large objects we were uh, not entirely sure whether or not to leave the shadows on, and I think the Trollwalla was one of those situations where we came to the point where we had to decide, um, do we keep it or do we not do it? Because, for instance, these large meteors that fly on the sky, when they did cast shadows, they would cast like these really giant shadows that would sort of overshadow the entire scene. In the case of the Troala, it sometimes does produce these like very large moving shadows. It can be a little bit distracting, but in the end, I felt it gave more. It was kind of cool because many times when the Troala descends, you actually don't get to see where it's coming from, and the shadow can sort of help you pinpoint the situation. We did do some experiments early on in the game with trying to do shadow penumbras, like the shadows diffusing as they stretched into the horizon. This is something that you'll see very often with ray traced games, that the shadows are not sharp as for instance, you would see a shadows of a tree sort of sharp at the base, and it sort of diffuses as it goes in it stretches. Um, with more time, maybe someday we'll maybe add ray tracing. who knows, to the project. And in that case, you would see more diffuse shadow like moving around, and it's a little bit more realistic. As you'll notice here, I do want to mention, you can see that I'm in the first biome, and the amount of time it took for my trebum to sort of need water was longer than when I was playing in the desert, because the temperature also affects the speed at which the trebum need to rehydrate themselves. So there's a lot of small cool systems, and these details are pretty neat, but it's part of the game.
They're asking if you ever experimented with an arm mutation.
Arms for the trebum. No, we actually never tried to give them arms. We always, everything with the trebum was about how we would play around with the trunk, the legs, the eyes. But I think as soon, if we would have put arms on the trebum, I think they would have looked too different. I think they would have looked like something else.
Question: Will every mutation be natural, or will it be rare ones similar to the wheel mutation at the demo start?
There are some that are not natural, that are more artificial in nature, and you'll see them when you find them, and they're kind of evident in the fact that they produce an effect on the trebum. Most are natural, yeah, but there are a few examples of cases where they are not natural.
Laughing about a camel mutation for the desert. But there is one where you can carry more things and something for, I think, less dehydration. I don't know. It's not a camel mutation. That'd be funny though.
That's a good idea. I'll make a note of it. Cool.
Okay, I think we're getting ready to wrap up in a few minutes. Any last questions from chat or anything that you can think of, Carlos, that you'd like to share in game right now?
I will just fly to the Trawala so everyone can see.
Oh yeah, I always want to see where their neck goes. I'm sure it just stops. No, oh no.
This is not going to end well. I just got comboed by a lightning strike, and
You will pay for your lack of vision.
yeah, here we have the cool little bounce light from beneath the trebum, which is, with the snow, it's like really, really evident. Cool. So, I think...
Do the crabs in the desert have a name? I look them up on the chart all the time, and they're just called like Bug One. Do they have a real name? Because they're adorable. They're one of my favorite things in the desert.
The crabs, the one with the 4 little legs?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they certainly have a name, which I totally don't remember because there's too many. But yeah, they have a name. Everything has a name. Everything. I think it's been... I think some people have seen it somewhere, but there's... so I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but there is a mutation in the game that allows you to add creatures into the compendium. So in the regular game, if I go to my inventory, if I go into the compendium, I have the food, so I can give all the information from the different ingredients that I'm eating. But the creatures, this tab is now grayed out, and it's not because the beta did not have access to the creature compendium. It's actually that there's a mutation which allows you to scan the creatures, and it gives you information. That one's way more interesting because you have to like walk up to the creatures, and you have this little like timer which you have to stand nearby the creature for a little while until you basically get the information. A little bit like in Metroid, where you would scan creatures. I think Metroid Prime did it, where you would scan creatures and get information about them. So yeah, everything, even the small, tiny, the walkers, everything is properly named and explained and has its part in the world.
Ah, yes, perceptive. I think perceptive eyes mutation.
Yes.
The chat is saying Tetra Crab. I should know that because they are building a wiki, so they, I'm sure, have the name of every single thing possible. Tetra Crab. There you go. Thank you, chat.
Here's
Okay. Nice things from chat, thanking you for all your hard work and that they're looking forward to the release. I think we're gonna wrap up here, and a huge thank you to Carlos for joining us with all this informative, great questions, answers that he's providing. And we'll be back in 2 weeks, not this current Friday, but the one afterwards, and we'll share who's going to be. Perhaps it's Carlos again, perhaps somebody different from the ACE team will
We'll
be
see.
here to answer questions.
Yeah, maybe we can do a something more debuggy where maybe we show some test maps and make creatures fight. Who knows? I don't know. It just
That'd be fun.
yeah.
Okay, great, great.
We'll see.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. We'll join you later. Pop into Discord and be a part of our community for the daily, and talk to everyone else about this stream shortly.
Okay. Bye everyone.